Hello friends, let's do today SWOT analysis of another recent event, namely trade restrictions between Bangladesh and India. Call it mid-May. Uh, the takeoff point was Mr. Muhammad Yunus, the advisor to Bangladesh government, his visit to China, meeting Mr. Xi, the president of China. A couple of things which he said became very noticeable in India and were put on the back burner only for the duration of Operation Sindoor. And that was, he saying that China should be the guardian of Indian Ocean. Now we all know why Indian Ocean is called Indian Ocean. For centuries, for times immemorial, India or kings of India have been the guardians of Indian Ocean and have kept this peace for a very, very long time. Indian Ocean is through which Cholas went to what is today Southeast Asia and took Hinduism, some other places or Buddhism, and to other different parts of the world. People from outside, Vasco da Gama and the others, came via the Indian Ocean and landed on the coast of India. So history is very, very clear. Currently also, India's naval power in Indian Ocean is unparalleled. So the question is not whether UK's naval power is better than India or USA or China or something. It's always a question of what is your relevant area. We can call it segmentation from marketing point of view. In that segment, who is stronger? Now, in this segment of Indian Ocean, and we have promoted and supported Indian Ocean Ring countries conference. As of now, it's not a treaty or a pact, but that is where the issues are discussed. Now, so let's say that India is a large economy now, $4 trillion or thereabouts, and certainly 3-4 times bigger than Bangladesh. Per capita incomes have started becoming equal. One of the reasons is that the effort which India made, the Indian armed forces made, to defeat the Pakistan's armed forces there and took 93,000 prisoners, probably one of the largest figures ever in the world in a war when 93,000 people offered to become prisoners, right? Okay, now, so Indian economy overall is large, but we have to take the relevant economy where they interact with each other, right? Similarly, it will be that in a particular sector, like ITS, our overall economy is very small compared to US, but in that ITS sector, India is quite strong. And similarly, there will be some other sectors that will be relatively weak. So India has a larger clout, economic clout overall compared to Bangladesh, and India has only helped Bangladesh in all these years. And the Awami League, with which the government started in 1971, with Dr. Sheikh Hasina's father, who was then assassinated as a prime minister, and now she, who had to leave the country, and the relationship of India was quite strong, and there was a lot of interaction. We set up coal-fired electricity plants in Chhattisgarh, supplying electricity to Bangladesh. And now the new government is saying, it's an expensive agreement, etc., etc. All governments like this in South Asia do this. One government goes and the other government starts criticizing the earlier government and wants to, cut their own feet with their own axe. Now, second is India is a diversified economy. Starting with ITS, engineering, automobiles, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and probably we are in all the fields. It is because of our strategy which was there to diversify through the Planning Commission and set up capacities in different things. So Bharat Heavy Electricals would make large machinery, heavy machinery, gensets and turbines and whatnot, and National Thermal Power Corporation will set up thermal power plants because we had our own coal, and at that time the sensitivity about coal-fired plants was not much. But in any case, we had our own coal, we made our own machinery, we had our own land where we did it and all that. However, because of our efficiencies, the price to the customer was not very low. price to the industrial customer was not low. And the lower end of the consumers were subsidized by the others higher ones, and that became relative weakness in terms of we being able to make, let's say, engineering goods at a very, very competitive price. China's policy has been somewhat different. Now, that different policy is what has created the Bangladesh textile industry, which is one of the largest in the world now, as far as exports are concerned, and they have large amount of exports to India now, by the way, something like about $1 billion or something like that. Now, again, the segmentation has to be seen. Is it to all of the India? No. Is it to Northeast India? Primarily so. Their consumer products, soft drinks and fish and so on. Also, they have a large amount of trade. But where does it go? Mostly to Northeast Asia, Northeast India. 7 states are there. Assam is very, very big also. So, we have to see how the trade will get affected there in that particular area rather than this mass called India or a mass called Bangladesh. It is in the border areas where the trade takes place that a lot of traders are involved, and if the trade is affected, this is then these lakhs of people who get affected. This is the lakhs of workers in the factories who get affected. Because as I said, the model is cheap fabrics supplied by China or Chinese companies. And this is the model in Sri Lanka, this is the model in Vietnam, and Cambodia, and Laos, and now increasingly in Africa. So, like a colonial power, they make fabrics by very, very large quantities and then supply it. So, this is what the Bangladesh situation is. They get subsidized electricity from India, believe it or not. Then they have these accessories which are good quality and diversity from China again at a very reasonable price. So, Bangladesh, therefore, today, because of very large factories, much larger than India, ends up making better and cheaper fabrics, ready-made goods, right? Okay, now so we'll come to the effect of the trade restrictions on that. So, but we India can absorb some of these fluctuations much better than these smaller economies, okay? Third is the strong infrastructure. India's infrastructure has been improving quite a lot, though it needs to improve also, whether it's roads, it's ports, it is railways, it is electricity plants, transportation networks, though of course in India before anything gets completed, the capacity gets overutilized even then, and then they have to make more and they have to chase that because it requires very large amounts of investment. But India through its planning process has been doing it. Now that enables efficient trade. Let's say between Delhi to Navsheva or go to Kandla, go to Calcutta. Calcutta was traditionally for the Southeast Asia, and that is what our friends in Bangladesh have been utilizing. So once he said that China is the guardian of this thing, and that they can very easily twist the neck, the chicken's neck, small area connecting northeast India and the rest of India, called Siliguri corridor, and separate out northeast, which of course then China can rule. What a nonsensical statement to make, undiplomatic statement to make, and was bound to receive reactions from India. So now let's say what are the weaknesses of India. First we will quickly now go through the SWOT of the two countries, then we'll go to the SWOT of the trade restrictions themselves to be able to understand it better and what the trajectory will be, what is likely to happen. So weaknesses are dependence on Bangladesh. This is vis-a-vis Bangladesh. India's northeast states rely heavily on Bangladesh trade. It could have been balanced, but the other side, Burma, that trade is affected. Third side, China, or Tibet, China, that trade is affected because it's not there. So northeast states end up relying a lot on the consumer products from Bangladesh. Potential economic impact, trade restrictions can harm India's own economy also, but I have given the analysis, not much. Particularly if Bangladesh retaliates. By the way, they have not retaliated yet as far as trade restrictions are concerned. So this time period is about 15th May or middle of May, and then on 19th, the Directorate General of Foreign Trade puts out a note saying that such and such things cannot be imported from Bangladesh. And this total net is about $770 million worth. Now that includes fabrics, that includes ready-made garments, soft drinks and fish and so on. Diplomatic fallout. India being a big country, the restrictions can strain India-Bangladesh relations, affecting cooperation in other areas. And other large countries, Western countries, may not support because Bangladesh is supposed to be considered a poor country, and a large brother, a big brother like India is supposed to help out in need rather than thrash a junior brother. Now, opportunities for India, what are they? Negotiations. Very simple. Situation can prompt renewed negotiations between India and Bangladesh. Yes, they are going through a phase. They are supposed to have elections soon, but they probably will end up extending it. And whichever popular government comes, because Mohammad Yunus is not a popular government, he's just been appointed as an advisor by the armed forces or people who got together to push Hasina out, and they have also right now outlawed the Awami League party. So what are the elections going to be there? We then can talk about increased regional cooperation. Yes, South Asian countries, it's a classic case that if they cooperate, everybody will gain. But they have emotional hang-ups because of which this goes on. Of course, if increased regional cooperation is there, for example, through SAARC, which has been a non-starter, educational exchanges, medical exchanges, so many public services, social services on which the exchanges can be there. So now, so India can explore alternative trade partners or routes to reduce dependency on Bangladesh. The issue will be how to supply Northeast well with the consumer products. That is not so difficult at all. If goods are not coming from Bangladesh, they will be going from the rest of the country there. There might be a marginal difference which the government can absorb in terms of subsidies if the things come from a little farther off. Diversification of trade we just discussed. Therefore, India can explore these alternative trade partners to reduce the dependence on Bangladesh. But dependence is not substantial. It's just that, currently the trade routes are like that and the trading is like that, and Bangladesh needs our land for ports for exporting their goods. So, even now with restrictions, 2 of the ports have been left open, 17 have been closed to them. 2 are the biggest ports, Nhava Sheva and Calcutta. Now, threats to India. Bangladesh retaliation could impose its own trade restrictions or tariffs on Indian goods. Question is dependency. As I just said, now there are a lot of electricity in a particular area in Bangladesh is supplied by plants which are located in the Indian states of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. And more were supposed to be coming. Similarly, more were planned in terms of the hydroelectric plants. So dependency of Bangladesh is more, technology-wise also. Loss of market share, yes. If we don't export our goods, there will be some loss of market share. But I said the structure of the goods exported is different. Electricity, for example, they cannot do without it also. Then, in short term, they might build up some plant on Brahmaputra along with China, but that also will have to come through northeast. So, or they might do it in Nepal. Again, that will be exposed. So they are not in a very good bargaining situation either. Escalating tensions, situation could escalate tensions between the 2 countries, affecting regional stability. Now, this is just a kind of journalistic statements, but the probability of this is small, as I said, because of the lower marks given on this matrix to Bangladesh for affecting our lives. Strengths of Bangladesh is growing economy, doing well before the Sheikh Hasina government was chucked out, then diversifying trade partners. They are actively diversifying their trade partners. China is one, European Union and others. and then they have a very strong garment industry in which they have taken lead. And we wish it should have been there, that they retain the lead. So it's a significant contributor to its economy and exports. But I would say employment. It gives a large amount of employment now. It is one of the top ready-made garment producers in the world today, right? Then weakness are dependence on India. Relies heavily on India for trade and connectivity, particularly for its northeastern border regions. They also are sensitive to opening those corridors. Limited negotiation leverage. Bangladesh's smaller economy trade volumes may limit its negotiation leverage with India, and if India twists for a couple of $1 billion getting affected in terms of exports, the Bangladesh will feel the pinch more. As far as India is concerned, its daily exports are of the order of $2 billion. So it will not hurt, and they have to realize that their $2 billion, which is equivalent to our 1 day's exports, can make a major difference. Now, opportunities. Bangladesh diversification of trade. If they shake hands, then with others, and they can manage it, that's their opportunity. Increased regional cooperation. The crisis could prompt increased regional cooperation and infrastructure development benefiting Bangladesh, but with whom? China only. They are the only ones who have capital, and they are kind of far off. And Siliguri corridor is not just going to be subjected to that kind of pressure. Strengthening economic ties. Bangladesh could strengthen economic ties with other countries, reducing its reliance on India. But for example, what? With Pakistan? With Nepal? With Bhutan? With EU vis-a-vis India? With UK vis-a-vis India? A lot of people are already working outside, and they will be working. Just like whole of the South Asian people go out. So money comes from Middle East, money comes from England, and so on. And somehow to our economies, that is a cushion, which is a big cushion which is given because of the remittances. And we don't realize that our own economies are not doing it that well. It's our cousins, sisters, brothers who are going out and earning and then sending. And to that, the South Asians are considered good, both as a labor as well as professionals, doctors, various health services. For example, NHS, England will crash without the Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan, and Indian doctors. Now, threats. India's economic leverage, India's large economy and market give it significant leverage in trade negotiations and trade restrictions. And then they could twist, saying that they should behave and not invite a third country to become the guardian of Indian Ocean. They should know who the guardian of the Indian Ocean is. Potential loss of market share. Bangladeshi exporters could lose market share in India. That they certainly will. And outside also, because where the cost will go up. Escalating tensions will be there, and that is bad for both countries actually. So now this analysis highlights the complex dynamics at play in the India-Bangladesh trade restrictions. Both countries have strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, which will influence the trajectory of the situation. So I think we will, as far as this is concerned, we will close it here. Right now, so for the time being, we will close it here, and we will come back and do a video when certain developments take place, like reaction of Bangladesh and then Indian reaction to the reaction of Bangladesh, or better sense prevailing. And that better sense might prevail only, perhaps, after the elections in Bangladesh are over. Till that time, all these wannabe politicians would be trying to drum up anti-India sentiment. It's like your favorite brother, you want a lot from him, and then you start becoming opposed to him and try to earn sympathy of your electorate, your mohalla people, to restrain the big brother. Thank you very much.